My name is Samantha Green, and until a few months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. A loving husband, a cozy little home in Seattle, and a peaceful routine filled with morning coffees, weekend hikes, and long, lazy Sunday breakfasts. My husband, Ethan, was charming, everyone said so. He had that calm confidence that made people trust him instantly. A software engineer by profession, he worked late a lot, but I never doubted him. Not even once. I used to smile when my friends complained about their husbands hiding things or flirting with coworkers. I thought, that'll never be us. But I was wrong. It all began with something so small. It barely registered at first, a new password on his phone. Ethan wasn't the secretive type. We trusted each other with everything. But one evening, when his phone buzzed on the counter, he quickly grabbed it before I could even glance at the screen. That's when I noticed the lock. "Since when do you have a password?" I asked casually. He hesitated, just for a second. "Work stuff. Confidential projects. You know how it is." I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, at least for a while. But small things started adding up. He came home smelling of expensive cologne I didn't recognize. His shirts were freshly pressed, though I hadn't done the laundry. His tone softened when he answered calls in the other room. And then there were the late nights, so many of them, that even our cat started waiting by the door for him. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe I was just being paranoid. We'd been married for 7 years, after all. Wasn't it normal for passion to fade, for work to take over? But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The breaking point came one Saturday morning. Ethan had told me he'd be at the office all weekend for a system upgrade. But around noon, I decided to surprise him with lunch. I packed his favorite turkey sandwich, grabbed his jacket he'd forgotten, and drove downtown. When I reached his office, the parking lot was half empty, but his car wasn't there. I called him. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. Something in my chest tightened. My hands shook as I parked and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying to breathe. Then, I saw it. Ethan's car, parked across the street from a hotel. At first, I thought, hoped it was a coincidence. Maybe he was meeting a client. Maybe there was an event. But as I watched, my heart sinking lower by the second, I saw him come out of the hotel lobby with a woman. She was tall, blonde, wearing a red coat. Her hand brushed his arm as they laughed about something. He looked at her the way he used to look at me years ago, when everything was new and effortless. I froze. My fingers went numb around the steering wheel. They walked toward his car, and he opened the door for her like a gentleman. My mind went blank. Every sound, every car, every bird faded into silence. He kissed her cheek before getting in. That one gesture shattered me. I couldn't move. I just sat there, watching them drive away, feeling like the air had been punched out of my lungs. When I finally drove home, I couldn't stop shaking. I kept replaying the scene in my head, his smile, her hand on his arm, the way he didn't look guilty at all. By the time he came home that night, I was sitting on the couch, pretending to read. "Hey babe," he said casually, hanging his jacket. "Long day. Server issues all over the place." I looked at him, at the man I thought I knew, and forced a smile. "Rough day, huh?" He nodded. "You have no idea." I wanted to scream, to throw the truth in his face. But I didn't. Not yet. Something in my gut told me to wait, to see how far he'd go with his lies. So for the next week, I pretended everything was fine. I cooked his favorite dinners. I laughed at his jokes. I let him kiss me goodnight. But every moment, I watched him closely, every expression, every text he tried to hide, every late-night call. Then, one night, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed again. A message appeared on the lock screen. "Can't stop thinking about you. Same time tomorrow?" My heart raced. The name on the screen made me freeze. It wasn't a woman's name. It was just one letter. R. I didn't know who R was. I didn't even have the courage to open the message. The phone was locked, and I didn't know the passcode. But that single line played in my head all night. The next morning, Ethan left early for work. I followed him discreetly, heart pounding, hands trembling on the steering wheel. He didn't go to his office. He didn't even go downtown. He drove to the outskirts of the city, to an abandoned industrial area where a few warehouses stood half crumbling under the gray sky. I parked far enough not to be seen and watched him step out. He looked around cautiously, then walked toward one of the old buildings. A tall man in a black jacket was waiting for him. They shook hands, too firmly, too seriously. It didn't look romantic. It looked tense, secretive, dangerous. The man handed Ethan a small black case. Ethan opened it, glanced inside, and nodded. Then he gave the man an envelope, thick, like it had cash inside. My heart pounded louder than the wind howling through the broken warehouse windows. What was this? A deal? Drugs? Blackmail? Ethan wasn't just cheating. He was hiding something else. Something darker. And when he got back into his car, I ducked low, terrified he'd spot me. He drove away, unaware that his wife had just seen him exchange something that could destroy both our lives. That night, when he came home, I could barely look at him. He smiled, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "You okay? You seem a little quiet." "Yeah," I whispered, "just tired." But inside, I was screaming, because I'd caught him cheating. But now, I was starting to realize the secret he hid might be far more dangerous than betrayal. That night, while Ethan slept beside me, I made a decision. Tomorrow, I was going to find out what was inside that black case. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the black case. The way Ethan looked at it, careful, almost fearful. The way he handed over that envelope like it was payment for silence. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to confront him yet, not until I knew exactly what I was dealing with. Ethan left for work around 8 a.m., his usual smile in place. "Don't wait up for me tonight," he said casually. "We might have a deployment issue." Deployment issue. Right. I watched him leave, then grabbed my coat and keys. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely lock the door. The warehouse district was eerily quiet when I arrived. The same cold wind whipped through the broken windows. I half expected someone to jump out from behind a rusted truck, but the building was empty. At least, it looked that way. I pushed open the creaky metal door, and the smell of dust and oil hit me. Sunlight streamed in through cracks in the roof, catching on floating dust particles. My footsteps echoed as I moved deeper inside. And then, I saw it, on the floor near a stack of old crates. A small black case. The same one I'd seen yesterday. My hands trembled as I picked it up. It wasn't locked. Slowly, I unzipped it. Inside were several items, strange, unsettling things. A gun, wrapped in cloth. A few photos of people I didn't recognize. And a USB drive. My throat went dry. This wasn't just some affair. This was something criminal. I quickly zipped the bag and tucked the USB drive into my pocket before putting everything else back exactly as I found it. I didn't want Ethan to know anyone had been there. On the drive home, I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, paranoid that someone might be following me. When I got home, I plugged the USB into my laptop, praying it wasn't password protected. It wasn't. At first, there were just folders, names, dates, and what looked like financial statements. But then I clicked on a video file. The screen flickered to life, showing Ethan sitting at a desk in some dimly lit room. Across from him was a man, the same one from the warehouse. They were talking in low voices, but I could make out words like transaction, shipment, and safe house. My stomach twisted. Then Ethan said something that made me freeze. He said, "No one can ever find out about her. If this goes wrong, I'll lose everything." Her. Who was her? The woman from the hotel. Or me? Before I could finish watching, I heard the sound of the front door. Ethan, home early. I slammed the laptop shut, yanked the USB out, and shoved it under the couch cushion just as he walked in. "Hey," he said, smiling, loosening his tie. "You're home early too." "Yeah," I said, my voice tight. "Just taking a break." He kissed my cheek, but I barely felt it. My mind was spinning. "Everything okay?" he asked, studying my face. "Of course," I lied. He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me for a moment too long. It was like he was trying to read my thoughts. Then, just as quickly, he smiled again and went upstairs. The moment he was out of sight, I let out a shaky breath. I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. But if Ethan was involved in something dangerous, confronting him might be the worst thing I could do. So I called the only person I trusted, Maya, my best friend since college. When she picked up, her cheerful voice made me want to cry. "Sam, you okay? You sound weird." "Maya, listen," I whispered. "I think Ethan is cheating, and maybe into something else. Something bad." "Wait, what? What do you mean, something else?" "I found a gun. And files. And whoa. Slow down. Sam, this is serious. You need to go to the police." "I can't," I said quickly. "Not yet. I don't have enough proof. And if he finds out I went through his stuff." She was quiet for a moment. "Okay. Then come stay with me tonight. Just in case." I almost said yes. But then I remembered Ethan's face that morning. So calm, so confident. If I suddenly disappeared, he'd know something was wrong. "No," I said. "If I leave now, he'll get suspicious. I'll stay tonight. But tomorrow, I'll make a copy of the USB and take it to you. Sam, promise me you'll be careful." "I promise." That night felt endless. Ethan was unusually affectionate, cooked dinner, poured wine, even put on music, almost as if he was trying too hard. I smiled, played along, but inside, I was shaking. Then, just before bed, he said something that made my blood run cold. "By the way," he said casually, "did you go anywhere today?" I froze. "What do you mean?" "I called you at lunch," he said, still smiling. "But you didn't answer. I checked the GPS on your car app. You were downtown?" My heart nearly stopped. I forced a small laugh. "Yeah, I went shopping. Needed some air." He watched me for a moment. You know, you've been acting different lately. Everything all right?" I swallowed hard. "Of course." He leaned in, brushed his fingers against my cheek, and whispered, "Good. Because if something's bothering you, you can tell me. Secrets can destroy a marriage, Sam." The irony almost made me choke. When he finally went to bed, I waited until his breathing deepened. Then I tiptoed downstairs and pulled the USB from under the couch. I copied everything onto my own flash drive, my hands trembling. I was about to put it back when something caught my eye. Ethan's briefcase sitting by the door. Curiosity overpowered fear. I opened it carefully. Inside were several documents and a passport, but it wasn't Ethan's. It was under another name, Daniel Reese. Same photo, same face, different identity. My legs went weak. What the hell was going on? Was Ethan living a double life? And if so, which life was real? I barely made it upstairs before he stirred. I slipped into bed, pretending to sleep, my heart hammering in my chest. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow, I'd go to Maya. Tomorrow, I'd show her everything. But as I lay there, staring into the darkness, one horrifying thought wouldn't leave my mind. If Ethan had gone this far to hide his secret, what would he do if he discovered I knew? At 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps downstairs, Ethan's voice murmuring on the phone, and the words that made my blood freeze. "She's starting to suspect." My breath caught the moment I heard those words. "She's starting to suspect." It was Ethan's voice, low and steady, drifting up from the living room. I lay completely still, barely daring to breathe. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual, like every second was trying to betray me. I slipped out of bed, careful not to creak the floorboards, and tiptoed to the top of the stairs. From the dim glow of the hallway, I could see Ethan's shadow stretching across the wall. He was standing near the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in hushed tones. "No, she doesn't know yet," he said. A pause. Then, "I took care of the files. It's just a matter of time before the next phase." My heart raced so fast I thought it might explode. The files. He must have meant the ones on that USB drive. Was he talking about me when he said, "the next phase"? "Yeah," he continued. "I'll make sure she's out of the way soon." Out of the way. I gripped the railing, trying not to collapse. I wanted to run, to scream, but I forced myself to keep listening. "Yes, I'm still using the house as a front," he said. "No, she doesn't suspect what's really going on. Just give me a few more days." A few more days. Until what? The person on the other end said something I couldn't make out, and Ethan nodded slowly. "Got it. I'll handle her if I have to." Handle me. That word echoed in my mind like a death sentence. I backed away quietly, heart pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. When I slipped back into bed, I lay trembling, my mind spinning with panic. Ethan wasn't just lying. He wasn't just cheating. He was planning something dangerous, and I was part of it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, I already had a plan. I texted Maya from the bathroom. He knows I suspect something. Need to meet ASAP. Noon. Cafe Luna. She replied instantly. Got it. Be careful. I left the house pretending to run errands. Ethan was in the kitchen, sipping coffee and scrolling through his phone. He smiled at me, as if last night hadn't happened. Going out? He asked. Yeah, grocery run, I said, forcing a smile. He nodded, eyes still on his screen. Okay. Don't be long. The tone in his voice made my stomach twist. It wasn't a request. It was an order. By the time I reached Cafe Luna, my hands were still shaking. I spotted Maya immediately, dark hair tied up, worry written all over her face. Sam, she whispered as I sat down. You look awful. What happened? I told her everything about the USB, the fake passport, and what I overheard last night. Her face drained of color. Sam, this isn't some random affair. He's involved in something big. Maybe criminal. I know, I said, my voice cracking. But what do I do? I can't just go home like nothing happened. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You can't go back there. Stay with me tonight. We'll call the police in the morning. I nodded, tears blurring my vision. I never thought he was capable of this. Maya hesitated, then said, Do you still have the USB? Yes. Good. Keep it safe. It's probably the only proof you have. We sat there for a while, my mind reeling, until Maya's expression suddenly changed. Her eyes shifted past my shoulder. Sam, she whispered urgently. Don't look now, but I think he's here. My blood ran cold. I turned slightly, and there he was. Ethan, standing by the door, wearing his gray coat, phone in hand, eyes scanning the room. When his gaze landed on me, he smiled. That calm, chilling smile that now made my skin crawl. How did he? I started, but Maya grabbed my arm. Don't panic. Act normal. He walked toward us, every step deliberate. My pulse thundered in my ears. Hey, sweetheart, he said when he reached our table. Didn't expect to see you here. I forced a shaky smile. Oh, hi. I was just catching up with Maya. He nodded, glancing at her, then back at me. Funny. You didn't mention this when you left for groceries. His tone was calm, but the message was clear. He was warning me. I didn't think I needed to, I said softly. Right. His eyes flicked to the bag by my feet, the one holding the USB. Why don't we head home? We can talk there. Before I could answer, Maya stood. Actually, she's staying with me tonight, she said firmly. You said you've been busy with work, right? Maybe you both could use a little space. Ethan's jaw tightened just slightly, but the smile never left his face. That won't be necessary. We'll talk privately. No, I said, my voice trembling. I'm staying with Maya. For a moment, he just stared at me, eyes cold, unreadable. Then he gave a short laugh. All right, if that's what you want. He leaned in close, so only I could hear. But remember, Sam, some secrets are better left alone. He straightened up, nodded politely at Maya, and left the cafe. As soon as he was gone, I could finally breathe. Jesus, Maya whispered. He's watching you, Sam. Maybe tracking your phone. I need to leave town, I said. Tonight. Come to my place first, she said. We'll pack your stuff tomorrow with help. But for now, stay off your phone. Use mine if you need to call anyone. I nodded, gripping the USB in my hand. When we got to her apartment later that night, I tried to eat, but I couldn't. My body was shaking from exhaustion and fear. Maya offered to sleep on the couch while I took her guest room. But hours later, as I lay awake, I heard something faint but distinct. A click, like a door unlocking. My breath caught. I slipped out of bed quietly and peeked into the living room. The door was open. Cold air drifted in from outside. Maya's couch was empty. Maya? I whispered. No answer. I stepped into the hallway, my heart racing. That's when I saw it. something glinting on the floor near the door. Maya's phone. Cracked. And next to it, a small folded note with one sentence written in Ethan's handwriting. You shouldn't have involved her. My knees buckled. Maya, I shouted, running outside into the dimly lit street. No one. Just silence. My hands trembled as I picked up the note, the wind whipping it from my fingers. Ethan had been here. He knew exactly where I was. And now, Maya was gone. I clutched the USB drive against my chest, whispering through my tears, Ethan, what have you done? Just then, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. When I answered, his voice came through the line. You should have stayed quiet, Sam. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Ethan? I whispered into the phone, my voice trembling. He didn't answer right away. Just the faint sound of wind, and his slow, deliberate breathing. Then he said softly, You shouldn't have gone through my things, Sam. You've made this harder for both of us. Tears filled my eyes. What did you do to her? A short chuckle. Maya's fine. For now. But she asked too many questions. My hand tightened around the phone. If you hurt her, relax, he interrupted, his tone suddenly calm again. I just needed to make sure she understood the importance of silence. You'll see her again. Maybe. The line went dead. I stood there shaking, the street empty, the cold wind cutting through me. My best friend was gone. My husband was a stranger. And I was completely alone. I ran back inside and locked the door, every nerve screaming. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the phone. I dialed 911, my breath coming in short gasps. 911. What's your emergency? My husband. He's dangerous. My friend is missing, I stammered. The dispatcher's voice stayed calm. Ma'am, please stay where you are. We'll send someone to your location right away. What's your name? Samantha Green. I'm at my friend's apartment. Before I could finish, I heard it. A car engine outside. Slow. Idling. Then headlights swept across the window. I froze. He'd found me. Ma'am, stay on the line, the dispatcher said. Help is on the way. But I couldn't wait. Not with Ethan outside. I turned off the lights, grabbed the USB, and slipped out the back door, into the narrow alley behind the building. The cold air bit at my skin as I ran. My shoes splashed through puddles, my heart pounding louder than my footsteps. I didn't stop until I reached a 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. I ducked into a booth near the back and clutched my phone to my chest. The dispatcher was still talking. Ma'am, are you safe? Yes, I whispered. I'm at a diner now. Please find my friend. Her name's Maya Collins. Understood. Officers are being dispatched to both locations. I hung up and tried to calm myself, but the fear was too thick to swallow. Every time the door opened, I jumped. Ethan had always been gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of man who never raised his voice. But now I knew he'd been living 2 lives, one with me, and one in the shadows. I needed answers, and the only way to get them was on that USB. I pulled out my laptop again, praying the files hadn't been corrupted. This time, I opened a folder labeled Project Helios. It contained blueprints, payment records, and a list of names, all tied to something called Phoenix Biotech. I scrolled through dozens of documents until I found one that made my blood run cold. A signed contract. Client, Phoenix Biotech. Subject, experimental human testing. Contractor, Daniel Reese. That name again, his fake identity. There were progress reports, encrypted communications, even photos of people hooked up to machines, pale and unconscious. Ethan wasn't just cheating or laundering money. He was involved in illegal human trials. And I had proof. I barely had time to process what I'd found when my phone vibrated again. It was a text, unknown number. Still running, Sam? You should come home. It's not safe out there. I felt sick. He was still tracking me. I switched off the phone immediately, but it was too late. He'd find me again soon. The waitress, noticing my pale face, came over. You okay, honey? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a shaky smile. Just a rough night. Want me to call someone for you? No, I said quickly. I'll be fine. Thank you. I packed up my laptop and USB and slipped out through the diner's side door. There was only one person left who could help me, Detective Mills. an officer I'd met years ago during a neighborhood break-in case. He'd given me his card, said I could call anytime. I dug it out of my wallet with trembling hands and dialed the number from a payphone near the corner. He answered groggily. Detective Mills. Detective, it's Samantha Green. You probably don't remember me, but Mrs. Green? Yeah, I remember. You okay? No, I said, voice breaking. My husband. He's not who he says he is. I found evidence, fake IDs, a gun, files about illegal experiments. My friend's missing. Please, I need help. He was silent for a second. Then, all right. Slow down. Where are you now? I told him. Stay put. Don't talk to anyone. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Relief washed through me like a wave. I clung to the payphone, whispering, thank you. But 15 minutes turned into 30, then 40. No one came. I tried calling again. No answer. That's when I realized something terrifying. If Ethan had contacts in criminal networks, what if he also had contacts in the police? My blood turned cold. I couldn't trust anyone, not even law enforcement. I needed to disappear. So I took a bus to a nearby motel under a fake name, paid in cash, and locked myself inside the tiny room. The neon light from the vacancy sign flickered through the blinds, painting the walls red and blue. I sat on the bed, clutching the USB. Maya was missing. Ethan was hunting me, and I was sitting on evidence that could destroy him. Suddenly, a sound came from outside, the faint creak of footsteps on gravel. I turned off the lights and peeked through the curtain. A black car was parked in the lot, the same make and color as Ethan's. I ducked down, heart racing. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just another guest. But then I saw him, stepping out of the car, looking straight at my room. Ethan. How had he found me again? I backed away slowly, scanning for something, anything, to defend myself with. My eyes landed on the old motel phone. I picked it up to call the front desk. But the line was dead. And then, 3 slow knocks on the door. Sam. His voice came calm, almost soothing. We need to talk. I pressed my back against the wall, shaking. Open the door, sweetheart, he said softly. You've got it all wrong. Let me explain. Go away, I shouted, my voice cracking. He sighed. You think you know everything, but you don't. There's more to this than you understand. Then tell me, I cried. Silence. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, if you knew the truth, you'd realize I was never the villain. My heart pounded as the doorknob turned slowly. The lock rattled once, twice, then clicked. The door swung open, and what I saw standing behind Ethan made me gasp in horror. It wasn't just him. Someone else was with him. And it was someone I thought I'd never see again. The door creaked open, and the dim yellow light from the hallway spilled into the room. My heart stopped. Standing just behind Ethan was Maya. Alive, but not the way I remembered her. Her face was pale, expression blank, and her wrists were trembling slightly. Her eyes darted between Ethan and me, filled with something I couldn't read, fear, guilt, or both. Maya, I whispered, my voice breaking. Oh my God, you're okay. She didn't answer right away. She just looked at me with a trembling lip and then at Ethan, as if waiting for permission to speak. Ethan's voice was calm, steady, terrifyingly composed. See, Sam? I told you she's fine. I stumbled back, pressing against the far wall. What the hell is this? Why is she with you? He took a slow step inside, gesturing for Maya to follow. Because, sweetheart, she's been working with me the whole time. What? My voice cracked. No, that's not possible. Maya would never. I'm sorry, Maya whispered, tears filling her eyes. I didn't have a choice, Sam. I stared at her, unable to process the words. Didn't have a choice? You knew? You knew what he was doing. Ethan's smile returned, cold and cruel. She didn't just know. She helped me. Maya shook her head frantically. It wasn't supposed to go this far, Sam. He told me he was in trouble, that people were after him. I thought I was protecting you both. Protecting me? I snapped. By lying to me. Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. You both need to stop dramatizing this. I can explain everything if you just sit down and listen. I didn't move. You've been lying since the beginning. Why should I believe a word you say? Because, he said slowly, If you don't, we're all dead. Silence filled the room. He stepped closer, eyes dark and tired now, not angry, but almost desperate. Do you think I wanted this? He asked. You think I wanted to live with 2 names, fake passports, secret deals? Everything I've done, I did to protect us. I laughed bitterly. Protect us. You cheated on me. You pointed a gun at innocent people. You made my best friend disappear. Maya's voice cracked. Sam, please. Let him explain. It's not what you think. Ethan's tone softened. That woman you saw at the hotel, she wasn't my mistress. She was a contact. I was supposed to deliver funds for an operation against Phoenix Biotech. I frowned. Operation? What operation? He took another cautious step forward. Phoenix Biotech isn't just a pharmaceutical company. They've been running covert experiments on people, Sam. Homeless veterans, refugees. Test subjects no one would miss. I stumbled across their files years ago during a freelance contract. I tried to expose them, but I couldn't do it legally. They had people everywhere. I had to go underground. I shook my head, the room spinning. That doesn't explain the gun, the fake name, the money. I became their contractor under a false identity, he said, voice trembling. I played along, earned their trust, and started stealing evidence piece by piece. That USB drive you found, it's everything I've gathered against them. He pointed toward my hand. That drive could shut them down, Sam. But it also puts a target on everyone who's seen it. Maya spoke through tears. I was supposed to keep an eye on you to make sure you didn't get caught in it. Ethan thought if you found out too early, you'd run to the police. And if you did, Phoenix would have silenced you. I stared at her, betrayal clawing at my throat. You lied to me. My husband lied to me. You both made me think I was crazy. Ethan's voice rose, desperate now, because it was the only way to keep you alive. I could hear the truth, or at least his version of it, bleeding through his voice. Then something clicked. The late nights, the money, the tension. It all fit, but too perfectly. How do I know this isn't another lie? I whispered. You could be making all of this up. He took a step closer, holding out his hands. Because if I wanted to hurt you, Sam, I would have done it already. You have to trust me now. They know you've got the files. They'll come for you next. I hesitated. His eyes were wild, not the cold manipulation I'd seen before, but genuine fear. Maya wiped her tears. He's telling the truth, Sam. I saw what Phoenix did to people. They'll kill to keep it hidden. Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed from outside. The screech of tires, then heavy boots unravel. Ethan's face went pale. They found us. He darted to the window and peeked through the blinds. Black SUV. No plates. It's them. My heart pounded. What do we do? He turned to me, eyes fierce now. Give me the USB. No. I clutched it to my chest. You could destroy it, or worse. Sam, listen to me, he snapped. If they find it on you, they'll kill you without hesitation. I can lead them away. I hesitated, torn between fear and disbelief. Please, he said softly, if you ever loved me, trust me just this once. Something in his voice, raw, pleading, made me falter. Against every instinct, I handed him the USB. He took it gently, looked at me for a long moment, then leaned in and kissed my forehead. I'm sorry for everything. Before I could speak, he turned and slipped out the back door. Maya grabbed my arm. We have to go too. But before we could move, the front door burst open. 2 men in tactical gear stormed in shouting, FBI. Don't move. FBI? Maya froze. I threw up my hands, trembling. A man in a dark suit stepped forward, flashing a badge. Immerse. Green? We've been trying to locate your husband. Where is he? I stared at him, speechless. You're not with Phoenix? He shook his head. We've been building a case against them for months. Your husband's been our informant. My knees buckled. Maya caught me just as I whispered, Informant? The agent nodded. He went dark last week. We think he discovered a mole inside our own team. That's why he disappeared. Everything spun around me. He told me he was protecting me. He was, the agent said quietly. He risked everything to keep you safe. I rushed to the window, heart in my throat. Outside, in the distance, headlights sped toward the main road. A black SUV chasing Ethan's car into the dark. "No," I whispered. "Ethan." The agent shouted orders into his radio. "We've got eyes on the suspect's vehicle. Engage pursuit." The room erupted into chaos. Agents swarmed the area. Maya sank to the floor, sobbing. I could barely breathe. The last words Ethan said echoed in my head. "If you ever loved me, trust me just this once." I ran to the doorway, watching the flashing lights fade into the night. And then, far away, a single explosion tore through the darkness. The shockwave rattled the windows. I screamed his name, but the only sound that came back was the echo of my own voice. 2 weeks later, the FBI confirmed it. Ethan's car was found burned beyond recognition. No body recovered. No trace of the USB. They called it a containment incident. I called it unfinished business. Because deep down, I knew the truth. Ethan wasn't dead. Not really. He'd escaped. And somewhere out there, he still had the USB drive. And the secrets powerful people would kill to bury. Sometimes, late at night, my phone buzzes once. A blocked number. No message. No call. Just silence. But I know it's him. Watching. Protecting. And every time, I whisper into the dark, "I forgive you, Ethan. Just come home." The end.